Music's over.
Oh,
Dancing's done. How are you today, Rawle? And welcome everybody to the Rawle and Gene Show, the power of coaching. Today, this is episode 8, and we're talking about the Duel of the Wolves, exploring the power of choice. Rawle, how are you today, my brother?
I'm well. I'm well. I'm doing well. I'm above ground, on the right side of the dirt. I've had a relatively chilled but somewhat productive morning. So, yeah.
Well, you were 3 hours into the future from where I am.
Yes, I am. Back to the future. Yeah, it's already, mid afternoon here in Toronto. So, yeah, things are good. Household is quiet until the little rugrat gets home, but the other ones are out. My nephew had prom last night, so yeah, it's pretty cool. So it was like his first kind of not sleeping in the house kind of moment. So it was just really cool watching my sister go through this whole process with her kids. So, yeah,
It is definitely a big step when they are graduating.
yeah,
They're graduating from a lot in life, all in one big foul swoop sometimes.
well, yeah, exactly. So it just goes to show you how short life is. Because he and my son Zen are like a day apart, so they'll be both 18 next week, and so it's just amazing. Like, when did that happen? So, but how you doing? How are you showing up today? I'm assuming you're the Gene part of the Rawle and Gene show. So,
I'd assume. I don't know. We could switch roles and see how that goes. Sometimes we can barely tell each other apart. So,
well, you never know someone until you walk a mile in their shoe. Maybe we should do a show about it.
Today's been good. Started with a beautiful hike up Knox Mountain with the hiking crew and snapped a great photo to start the day. And if we don't take a photo or talk about it, did the exercise even count?
It didn't happen.
It didn't happen, right? Like it's.
And if you don't post it on social media, it didn't happen.
Oh well, me and Shane share the photos back and forth, so that's our echo chamber of exercise.
No. I am with you, man. I only, social media is a tool that I use. That's it. It doesn't have control over my life like it's happened a lot of people. Anyway, that's another show.
That's a whole nother. Maybe that's a whole that we're going to talk about later on.
Yeah.
So the idea of this topic came up from some of the work that we're doing this week on the Me I Don't See workshop and everything else that's going around. So definitely, I'll go grab the link later on. You'll see me looking distracted. That's only because I need to go grab the link. Anyways, stick around to click that and register for the Me I Don't See. It's a workshop and experience that Rawle and I are putting on. That's part assessment, part debrief, part integration to the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had a good session on Wednesday. We spent a couple of hours going through the presentation workshop, and yeah, I'm pretty stoked about it. So
I am as well. But the reason
I'm stoked that people are signing up. So
even better.
Yeah,
even better. They like us, Rawle. They really, really like us.
Yeah. Daddy needs a new coat.
Toronto winters are the worst. We got to make sure Rawle's prepared for it.
I have the same coat that I've had now for 15 years.
Ooh.
It took me through, no, longer than that actually, because I moved to Kelowna with it. So I've had it, 20 years or more.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
The stories that coat has.
Oh, it does. It's a great coat, though. It's a great coat.
But I think we got a little off track. We were talking about how did we get to the topic of the two wolves. In part of the workshop, when you join it, part of that conversation that Rawle brings in is the parable of the two wolves. It's told differently over depending on who's telling it, but I'm going to step to the side and let Rawle fill us in on that story, and I'm sure it's one that we've all heard in some shape or form before.
Yeah, it's a good story. I mean, even the one that's the popular one that's going on, still a good story, but it's a story that's out of balance. And yeah, so Gina and I were working on Wednesday on the workshop, as we said, and I've included the story of the two wolves in the presentation. So Gene was going, "Oh, so walk me through what's your thinking of this?" And I said, "Well, I think everyone knows the story of the two wolves, and if you don't, here's a quick recap. It's an old Cherokee tale. A grandfather was teaching one of his grandsons about life, and he was going, there's two wolves within me, There's a constant fight within. And the good wolf is about empathy and love and hope and kindness and joy, all the good energies we attribute to that. The bad wolf, or the evil wolf is about death and destruction and envy and greed, and it's just out of balance, and it's always filled with anger. And the sort of grandfather's going, so there's this fight, this battle with these two wolves inside me that's always going on. And the grandson basically asks grandfather which wolf will win, and the grandfather goes, the one you feed. That's it. I'm just recapsulating the story. If you want, when we post this up, we can put the links to both. Gene, if you see, there's a link in the chat right now. That's the link to the real story. So the real story, there is a grandfather telling his grandson, teaching his grandson about life, and he tells him about the good and the bad wolf or the evil wolf, and he lists the attributes of both. But instead of going, when the grandson goes, which one will win, the grandfather doesn't say which one you feed. The grandfather goes, if you feed them both, they'll serve you well. And what he means by that is that both wolves have attributes, have qualities that we both need. The evil wolf, that I like to say the bad wolf, talk about it, it's angry and filled with hate and envy and greed, and lacks empathy and so forth. But that wolf also is very courageous and full of strength and strategic in his thinking. And where the good wolf is about empathy and joy and so forth, but it also has a strength. And if you know how to feed, if you feed them both, you're not going to have one lurking around the corner. If you only feed the good wolf, in the story, I think they use the white and black.
Yeah.
If you feed only the good wolf, then the evil wolf will always be lurking to attack, looking for your attention, looking to distract you. So it's important that you feed both. If you feed both, then you have the attributes of both that can serve you well throughout life. And if you feed them both, then you basically have a peace, an inner peace within, that you can then hear the voices of deeper wisdom, that you're not distracted from those voices of deeper wisdom. So that's why, and I used the original, well, not the original, I used the story as well. I think I first stumbled across, the tale when I was teaching at Cato, and I used that. But over the years, I did start to do some more research, and then I came across a video that said, that's not the original story. And then once I played with it, it made more sense to me. It's about balance, and a lot of my poetry, I always try to highlight the good, the bad, or the light and dark of life, because can't know one without the other. So,
you say balance. I hear harmony. I hear integration as more.
Yeah.
Part of that story is, I think a place that always gnaws at me is when someone's like, oh, I want to kill the ego or kill this, what you're asking for, or don't feed and starve and kill off the dark wolf. Is like, you want to kill a part of yourself?
Yeah. And you really can't kill it off.
No, and it's always going to be there.
It's always going to be there, exactly.
You have, I look at it as like, you could view this as your pack. Yeah. Are you taking, as the steward, as the leader of your pack, are you taking care of your pack? Yeah. Is one scrawny, starving, nipping, always looking to fight to survive? An animal that is trying to survive does a whole bunch of things to accomplish that goal. And if we look at it going, ooh, that could be brutal, that could be devastating, there's like a yes and to it. It's like, yeah, when you're trying to survive, you will do anything to survive. So if there's a piece within you that you're intentionally starving and putting in survival mode, all of you is going to be fighting that. That's where these battles come in, and it's unhealthy.
Well,
it's not going to serve in the long run, right?
Well,
and it puts. I also think it also then negates the responsibility you have as the leader of the pack to make the choice. You're blaming the wolves for the choices the wolves are making.
But you see, to me, everything you does serve you. That's an interesting word when we say serve, because you look at what's going on in the world today. It feels like we're out of balance. Well, we are, because where I've gotten to in my life, I realize that the good and the dark, good and evil, whatever you want to call it, exists in me. And for me, when I talk about balance, when you're balanced with yourself, with your energies, knowing that good and bad exist in you, and you honor both of them, then you can make a more balanced choice. And when we talk about serving, we always act like, well, you're always going to make the good choice. No, I just make a choice.
There it is.
I
Right.
just make a choice. Like, the thing is, what it yields, the consequences does it yield. If I don't like those consequences, then I can come back and go, okay, I've made this choice before. Why didn't I like the results of it? Blah, 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 blah. So then you could learn not to do it again. It all serves you. But because we only want the good in life, we only tend to want to focus on that. I'm actually giving a keynote next Sunday, a week from this Sunday, on ethics. And my talk is going to be about this. It's about balance. Because when we look at ethics, we only look at the positive side of ethics. Well, what about the other side of ethics? Because if things were the way they are, where it was all good, then this world should be different than it is.
Yeah.
It should be a lot different than it is, but it isn't. This world consists of good, bad, ugly, and beautiful at all times. Not at sometimes, at all times. As crazy as the world seems right now, we keep forgetting there's still a lot of good going on. There's still a lot of beauty going on. But we kind of limit ourselves in our worldview, and we only want to look through one filter or one lens. And to me, that's a dangerous thing. That's being out of balance. And when you're out of balance, especially within, then you're not at peace within. And when you're not at peace within, you're going to look for it externally, and it comes out in a dangerous way. When you're using the analogy of an animal that feels threatened, when they have their backs up against the wall, they're going to claw and fight to survive,
Yeah.
because that's built into us to survive. So my thing is, I no longer need to survive. I don't, I'm not talking about surviving, how much money you have and so forth. My survival is based on within, and in regards to how I feel about me within, and all the energies that exist within me, and being good with that. I can do bad. I can do ugly. I can do good, and I can do beautiful. But that choice, a lot of times, not a lot of times, all the time, comes down to me. And then being good with the choice and accepting the consequences. And if I don't like the consequences, then I know I can then change the choice the next time, because there will be a next time. So,
Yeah. So let's turn this back to, then, if we're looking at these as pieces of yourself, how do
mhm.
you feed? How do we go about feeding them? Staying with the wolf metaphor, how do we go about feeding these two wolves and learning to use their strengths and how they actually support one another's weaknesses as well?
Mhm. Well, let's remove wolves and think of thoughts. I get bombarded with all sorts of thoughts. What's going on in the world? What's going on in my life? Something that's going on that I may not like. The voice of doubt shows up all the time. And then another voice is one wants to quiet the voice of doubt.
Right.
But then the conductor goes, no, 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 no. Let the voice of doubt have its moment. It serves a purpose. I want to hear the other side of the argument. Why does the voice of doubt think we shouldn't do this? Right? Or the voice of greed, or whatever the voice is. So I no longer argue with these voices. I let them be. Because I know through me, the conductor is the one that's going to make the ultimate choice of which voice goes into the world.
Right.
So I want to hear why I am doubting myself. And is there validity to why I should doubt myself? Remember, the so-called black or the evil wolf serves a purpose, has a strength, has courage, is tenacious, and there's times you need those qualities. But if it's not there at your ready, and if you have starved the so-called evil wolf, you will not be able to tap into that strength when you need it.
No, and I think this ties back to, like, what's our famous word on this show? It's a practice.
It's a practice.
It's a
Exactly.
practice, right?
It's a
Like you have to. So you're setting up opportunities. So if I'm recapping what I'm hearing from you, Rawle, is like as the conductor, you don't want to stifle any of those voices. But
Yep.
as also as the conductor, it's your choice to choose what you amplify out to the world. Now
Yep.
those voices that are sitting around in that pen all build the melody together, and
Yes.
you get to conduct on how you present the final song.
Yep.
But you get in that place of practicing and figuring out, how does this feel? How do I work with this? What is the good, bad, and beautiful of each piece, of each of these thoughts, of each of these actions? And then how do I then learn to experience the accountability of sitting within what results?
Yep.
Debriefing that and learning from it, going, oh, that didn't hit, or oh my god, this was the greatest feeling ever. You need both of those to learn, to grow, to amplify, and to
About.
figure out where you're going to be with it.
Yep.
Now, the challenge is around the whole idea of like killing your ego, stifling those thoughts that you have, or like getting mad at yourself for the thoughts that you have, starving a wolf, not feeding a wolf, whatever it is, all the
Mhm.
wonderful metaphors. Without going into that place of sitting with it, you'll never understand how it can benefit. You'll never understand then how to use it to its full capacity.
Very much so. And when we talk about it's a practice, the practice for me is all the experiences that I've had that I can now consciously look back without judgment or without being judgmental. I think we talked about this last
I
episode.
think that was in the
To
last
look
episode
back
we talked about
without
that difference.
being judgmental about it, to look back with a sense of empathy to myself so I could learn from those experiences and not beat myself up with regret. This is what bogs down a lot of people. It's not so much the things that they've done, but the things maybe they didn't do in life
Hmm.
that drives people crazy. So, for me, when I talk about a practice, it's a practice. The practice includes everything that I've done, and it says to me, how do you want to be in this moment right now? In this moment, I choose to be balanced to the best of my ability, so I can look back, right, with empathetic eyes, with empathetic ears, and an empathetic heart to truly understand and to see and understand the wisdom that's attached to the experiences that I'm looking for.
I think
Um,
you hit a key piece there when you're thinking of, when you're reviewing that and making the choice in the moment, is you asked yourself, what can I do to the best of my abilities
yeah,
in this moment?
in this moment.
What does my best look like, and what does it mean to have my best, and can I fill to what that is in this moment, knowing that the best is
Yeah.
very elastic from moment to moment. But did I feel it? Did I get it to its capacity? Meaning I can leave everything else when I come back. I can judge what happened and evaluate, but I don't need to be judgmental going, oh, there's a gap.
Yeah.
I know I didn't even play to my best in that moment.
Well, my attitude is your best in every moment is your best, whether you agree with it or not, because it's what you did. We have this thing about perfection and we're not perfect and all this stuff. Well, no, I don't understand what that word means when we talk in this regards. Perfect. I am perfectly made and everything within me is perfect, right? Once again, how do you know light without dark? You know, Many people are seeking to be found. Well, in order to be found, you must be lost. So there must be
Mm.
a value to being lost.
Oh,
Right?
isn't that an interesting like flip of that?
It's what I do, Gene. It's what I do. Well, like I said,
He checks
to
in the
me,
mail.
when you get to a certain point in life, it's upon you to look back at life and to look at life and to your life and really look at it. Try to look at it from an observer standpoint and step out of whatever personal feelings and whatever pains and sufferings you think you have. Once again, the practice of doing that internal work has allowed me to do that because for years I felt lost. I was lost in the way we think and use those words, even in coaching circles. And then I realized, the only way you can be found is if you're lost. So there
Mm.
must be a value to being lost. If I wasn't lost, how would I be here now?
Right.
And that's assuming that I'm found. I don't know if I'm found. All I know is how I feel inside. I feel at peace. And every day I feel it more at peace. Doesn't mean I don't get riled. Doesn't mean I don't have moments of anger. I'm good with that.
But that if you bring that all into that place of peace and bring it all there, then you can still be at peace with
Yes.
all those feelings because
I'm
they
a
are natural and they're part of our
yes.
experience and you're supposed to experience
Yeah.
them and you're supposed to learn from them.
Take the suppose that you're going to experience them.
Well, yeah, like,
Yeah.
and it's your choice about like what
Yeah.
perspective you're going to bring to it and how what you're going to take from that moment. Again, you could go. This experience is going to be deposited in your vault of wisdom, and at some point you can choose to come back and review this from a whole new perspective, and you're going to maybe even learn something new that you weren't capable of or open to in that moment
Yeah.
either.
See, a lot of times we tie these conversations, these psychological conversations, philosophical conversations, and we tag spirituality to it or whatever. My belief is we're all, because I'm spirit, everything I do is spiritual.
Mm.
Everything, not some things. We like to put things into silos. Well, this is good and this is bad, and this is spiritual and this is not spiritual. But yet I'm spirit. And if I'm spirit, then everything I do is spiritual. I am here in this ego's world. Ego is another. That's we have to do a show on ego, because ego is another of our energies that gets a bad rap. And too many people are trying to get you to get rid of your ego or kill your ego. So good luck with that one. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
So to me, it's about finding that balance and understanding. Look at the rhythm of life. Right now it's what going on 2:30 in the afternoon here in Toronto. In a few hours, it's going to be nighttime. I don't have experiences all day long in daylight. I have experiences in the daylight, and I have experiences in the nighttime.
Yeah.
And they're just experiences, and it's how I choose to perceive them. And I no longer kind of look at things as good and bad, right and wrong. I just look at experiences and go, okay, what is this experience asking of me? And how do I choose to be in this experience? Because to the best of my ability, try not to let any experience define who I am.
That's an interesting place to maybe go on a little tangent. Is like go deeper with that. Like what open up that box of how you are having the experience and then also not tying that to your identity.
Well, my identity, Rawle is this identity. This meat suit that I walk around in is this identity. But that spirit, that whatever resides inside, whatever props up this meat suit. Once this meat suit takes its last breath, will filter off into something else.
Yeah.
That consists of all the energies that I am. There's no label to it. So if I'm good with that, then I'm good with whatever I put out into the world. Doesn't mean what I put out into the world may not be classed as bad, but if it is, I will live with that.
Right.
I had an experience like I think I shared on a couple of other shows ago with my stepfather, and and just the nastiness that I've experienced with him over since I was 12 years old, and I just experienced it a couple of months ago again. Why? Because I went to my mother's house, their house, with this expectation because she was hurt he would be different. He hadn't changed, nothing had changed, so why should I have a different expectation? I didn't like it, didn't feel good, but I didn't come home back to my sisters. I was blaming my mother or even him. I didn't even blame myself, but I accepted responsibility. Because if I did not put myself in that situation, that would not have happened. And I realized because I had a expectation that was unrealistic, then it's on me. Because I could have chose to say no regardless of what the circumstances was. But because I said yes and I went there, then I have to be willing to accept that consequence. Doesn't mean I like it, but I'm going to accept it.
Yes.
Why? I was the one that made the choice. To me, it's that simple. I've left you dumbfounded.
Thinking. Yeah. Well, it's like, well, the question is like, well, what from here?
Say that again, sir.
I said, well, what from here?
What do you mean? What from here? What are you thinking? Spit it out.
I don't know. I kind of went blank, honestly. Like
Yeah,
there's
I
like a
could tell. But
what which
I like these moments. I like when that happens because I'm sure it'll happen to me.
oh, it's like, okay, well, what's on the canvas? Like the etch a sketch got shooken, and here we are doing this live, going, whew.
Well,
We're all just dropped some bombs.
but
It's like like
it's that simple though, Gene.
it is that simple. It's
It
like
is that
do,
simple.
it's almost like we don't need to beat that dead horse. It's like it comes down to some simple words there. And you talked about responsibility. I've talked about accountability. In previous episodes, we've talked about accepting it and acknowledging and how all those play together around empowering your choices
Yeah.
and knowing that those are things that are going to happen after the choice. You have to make the choice to then go experience those next set of things.
Yeah. You can't just talk it.
No, you gotta be
You
in
have
it.
to walk it. You have to live it. You have to breathe it. You have to be it. It's easy to talk these things when things are good, but when S hits the fan, what will you do?
He
Will
means
you
shit, by the way, if anyone's wondering.
will you remember your practice? Will you remember that I'm the one that made the choice to go back into the lion's den? And if I chose to go into the lion's den, what the heck do you think's going to happen if the lion hasn't magically changed into a unicorn?
No,
Right?
well, so what does that what when those experiences happen? It's like look at it as that opportunity to practice. It's like, well, we start about talking about the duel of the two wolves. It's like, what what do I want to bring forth to be in service to myself today? What do I
Mhm.
want to bring along on this journey, knowing I'm walking into a place where the expectation, I can expect what's going to happen with the
Right.
situation or with the people. I can choose to go, I'm going to keep on the same train, have the same experience, and go, gosh darn it, that just didn't work out the way I knew it wasn't going to. Pain, suffering, wounds not being healed and closed. I could then choose to bring a different energy into that, be it emotionally, thinking in a way that I then, as the conductor, let the song of my piece out in that
Yeah.
experience.
I just walk to the best of my ability, since we're talking about the two wolves, with both wolves very strong. I
Mm-hmm.
want them strong. There'll be life situations where I will need the tenacity and the grit and the stubbornness
Yes.
and sometimes the destructive nature of the evil wolf. And there's
Is he
times
not
I will
even really
need,
evil?
well, no, but just in this conversation and to delineate, you got to be able to sometimes delineate. So, but I'm not saying evil is negative in that regards. This is not a religious discussion. It's just in regards to a myth or story. But there's times I need the qualities and strength of the good wolf.
Yeah.
Right? I need the empathy and I need the compassion and I need that hope that wolf has. So for me, the stronger both are, because remember, they're both working for me. They work for
Yes.
me, not
That
the other way around.
that's why you're out
And
in front of them, right?
yes,
Like
right?
my
I'm
line
the alpha
work
dog. I'm the
works.
alpha wolf,
Oh, right.
right?
But joking aside, is like you are out in front,
Yes.
and I guess that's another part of that choice is like, do you take the responsibility to be out in front, knowing you get to groom these wolves and all the values and abilities and I'm losing words today, but like
So
they bring forth out from you, and
yeah,
you need them both,
you
and
need
it's
them
your
both.
call about how you groom them, how to raise them, how to train with them, right? Just like
Mhm.
any other dog, if you don't train it, it's a meathead. It,
Yeah,
it, it does what a dog does, and that's your choice of putting the wolves out front and letting them do whatever they want without the
yeah,
training, without the connection, without the relationship. Flip that around to like pets, like dogs.
And to
If you
answer
if
your
you
question, in that statement that you it was a question, but I don't think you meant it as a question. But yes, I take responsibility. You know
yes,
why I take responsibility? It's my life. Who else is going to take responsibility?
you mean someone's not going to come save you?
No.
Oh,
So you need to take responsibility. Well, you don't need to. I invite you to. But so when you ask that, it's a rhetorical question, but
yeah.
it was a good question because are you going to take responsibility of the two wolves? Yes, I am, because it's my life. I'm the one that has to live it. I'm the one that has to do it and experience it. I'm the one that has to embrace the consequences of my choices. So yeah, I'm going to take responsibility. I didn't used to. I'm not sitting. I don't want to sit here and make it sound like I'm sitting on the mountaintop with my lotus in the lotus position. I got everything figured out. I still do shit, but I don't beat myself up for it. I choose to learn from it. Failure is a beautiful thing. It's a necessary component. You talk about the two wolves. I just look at it as duality. Duality exists within me. Duality is not some magical force that exists just in the universe. It exists in me because I am the universe. I'm part of the universe. So therefore, I'm connected to all the energies of the universe. And if this is a universe of duality, then I now know that duality exists in me and is my responsibility to master duality, not to
Yes.
shame it, not to say, this duality is good and that's bad and evil. No, because they're both necessary agents
Yeah.
in the practice of mastering self, whatever that means.
Well, yeah. And I think that idea of mastering self is like a whole nother place to explore, but you're not going to get there again unless you put the work in.
Yeah,
Like any skill, and it is a skill, plain and simple. This
yeah,
what we're talking about throughout all the shows here is these are skills.
and
Drop the word hard or soft. Be like, it's a skill.
it's a
It doesn't
skill.
it doesn't matter. Like, are you putting the skill into understanding the difference between what's happening in your head and what's happening in your heart and your body? Are you putting in the skills, practicing the skills to bring out your tenacity, your fierceness, empowering that with empathy and kindness and
Mhm.
compassion? It's a skill. You could have go all in on just fierceness and tenacity. You're gonna be a jerk and you're gonna cause some trouble. But you can also go all in kindness, and but then you can probably be really soft and not know how to protect yourself and
Yeah,
build something great, right? Like without the two sides, they're all it's like fractions that add up to a whole. So would I choose to, now seeing it that way, on purpose take some of those fractions out so I can't ever be whole with myself?
well, if I remember my grade 9 algebra correctly, what you do to one side of the equation, you must do to the other side.
Yeah, that's how you balance it out.
That's how you balance it out. And that's why I would say, the universe is a beautiful template of how to live, but we've got these big AIs in our heads that we think we know better. Um, I've learned part of my practice is to follow the magic, the mystery of the universe and how
Mm,
she lays it. That's why I said duality exists in me. I don't need to look elsewhere for duality. It's in me. And if I do something that's perceivably bad, I raise my hand, I own it up, I apologize to the best of my ability, and I try to learn from it, and then I keep moving on. Like Dory, I just keep swimming. I just
just
keep
keep
swimming.
swimming.
Right? The work. There's foundational work. This is why we created the me I don't see. Many people have done all sorts of workshops in regards to self mastery, self development, personal leadership, empowerment, whatever. You know, that foundational work to kind of recalibrate your foundation, but then the work continues because you'll realize you're going to keep having these experiences over and over and over and over again. It never stops. It's like breathing. Life is
Yeah.
repetitive. So the thing is, for me, is how quickly now am I snapping out of when I want to explode?
Yes.
Like, can I pull myself back and go, whoa, is that what you really want? Is that how you really want to be, regardless of what's happening in the experience?
Mm.
Right? And more times than not, the answer is no. And because I say no, then I go, then you don't have to act that. But if I do act that way, I'm okay with it as well. I'm not going to beat myself up. I'm going to choose to learn from it. Why was it hard for you to not say what to not act out how you said you wanted to be? What was it? Right? Do you still have some unresolved feelings and emotions or suffering that you haven't dealt with or you haven't addressed? Right? And it could be just as simple as I was fucking pissed off.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm good with that. Right? For me, balance. Be good with all that you do, the good and the bad, because you can't. How would you know? You know, a lot of my friends always say it's all about love. It's all about love, and I'm all about love, man. I'm one love. But if it was only love, how would you know you were in love? How would you know?
I hear you say it's all about love, and the voices are like it's all about life.
It's all about
And,
love. Yeah,
and life is the fullness of
yeah.
life is the buffet, and it's gonna bring everything.
Buffet.
Buffets, right? You got to go to the buffet,
You gotta go.
and because it's coming for you every moment. It's presenting itself, going,
Yeah.
"What are you gonna choose?"
Yeah.
And it's okay to pick the things that you like,
Mhm.
but there's going to be an abundance of those things that are left over that you didn't pick that are still going to require to be dealt with.
Yeah. And you know you're gonna fail, and that's why failing. And what we should do a special show on failing, not special, just do a show on failing, because you know if you don't fail, you'll never win.
Oh, it's
If you don't
interesting.
fail, that means you're not trying, right? And this is where Master Yoda and I disagree when he goes, you know
Well,
exactly.
there is no try. There is only do and do not.
Yeah, but there's times try. That's
But but
Because Master Yoda once said, "Only the Sith speaks in absolute." That's an absolute. So he just went against what he
maybe
said.
he's Sith, and doesn't that change everything?
Maybe that's. We're gonna, ladies and
Sith
gentlemen, we'll do a special Star Wars shows in
agent.
days.
Well, the where you talk about trying, and I get that word,
Yeah.
and what it means. I think what I hear you saying is like taking the action, regardless, separated from the outcome. Right.
Yes.
The true fact of failure is never making the move.
Yeah.
Sitting, planning, thinking about it, daydreaming about it, wishing for it, but never actually taking a step towards it. That's the failure.
That's the failure.
That's failure. Be like, I took a step. I didn't get the outcome I'd hoped for. That's a different set
two
of
different things.
experiences to go through. Be like, well, I just didn't achieve what I wanted to. What did I learn from this? Do I still want to go after the big dream that this was on the path towards? Yes, no. Yes? Okay, well then I'm willing to go do this again and not get the momentary outcome that I'd hoped for, because it adds to me.
That question wouldn't even have come up if you hadn't made the attempt.
Yeah.
Right. So without the attempt, you don't have that question to learn from. That's why sometimes the attempt is just as important. And I love the way you say it. It's not the attempt. We get bogged down with the outcome, and then want to devalue the attempt. Like I said, there's no way you can win without losing.
No.
There's no way. So
you have to, right? Like,
yeah,
you take the Babe Ruth. Like, he struck out more times than he hit home runs.
Yeah. Well, Michael Jordan said, I think Michael Jordan hit 23 game-winning shots in his whole career. That's a long career, but it seems like a small number, but that's a lot.
Yeah.
Well, how many shots did he take to make those 23? He missed a lot of times,
and he needed to miss them and needed to take the steps
with
them, and to find the passion behind it. Like, some of those people are incredible for going very deep into what they're passionate about and being driven in a way, but like, that drive is really, they got up and they trained.
Yeah.
It's like they got up and they trained. They took a step.
And the most important thing is, after the first time he took that shot and failed, I'm sure he went away and debriefed and realized, you know what? I'm not going to let that stop me. Next time the opportunity comes, I want to take the shot. Right? I want to take the shot. I remember distinctly when I was in Brooklyn I don't know how old was I? I think I was 12 or 13 years old. We were playing in a police athletic baseball league, and our team made it to the finals. And I was playing shortstop. 2 outs, 1 out away from taking this league championship. I'm playing shortstop. And I distinctly remember having the thought, don't hit the ball to me, don't hit the ball to me, don't hit the ball to me, don't hit the ball to me. Guess what happened?
Ball comes
The
flying right
ball
at you.
comes to me, I booted it, made a bad throw, we lose the game. And I always remembered that.
Yeah.
Always remember that. It haunted me for a long time. And it probably haunted me in a way where I was afraid to take that shot. I was afraid to want to make the last out.
Yeah.
Right. But I eventually learned, no. I'm worthy to take the last shot. I have the abilities. And if I don't make it, so be it. But I'm going to take it.
I'm going to learn from it, right?
I'm going to learn from it, but I'm going to take. Next time the opportunity shows up, I'm going to take it. And the opportunity showed up again, and I took it, and we won. The opportunity showed up again, and I took it, we lost. But either way, I was good.
Yeah.
Either way.
And part of that as well is like, where are you aiming? Right? Mm-hmm. Like when your mind went, oh, don't mess this up. Our brains are incredible things. They just remove the don't part. Yeah. So all they hear is mess up.
Well, my brain told me that and then took off.
It's like
you took off. It took off because it's like I forgot how to feel the ground ball, and I, you know what I mean. Even at that age, I knew how to feel the ground. So.
Yeah, and it reminds me of a story. Playing softball in my early 20s, we're having a good game, and I went out, grabbed the ball outside of the field, and my friend Sean's like, "Don't hit the pole." I'm like, "Oh, screw you." Bing! Nailed the pole. Like, out of all the things, I'm like, oh, how did this happen? I felt so bad. Weeks later, he goes again. Same thing. And he's laughed. Wouldn't it be funny if you hit the pole? And like, for whatever reason, hit that pole again, and the team just roared. I felt like crap. I'm like, oh, they're all laughing at me. Now I find it a hilarious story. Yeah. But there was a component of, like, I was aiming for that pole.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't matter what I didn't want to do. That was my goal, and my body went, we got you. Let's do this.
Yeah. It's a matter of perspective, I know. But then you have to ask yourself, what perspective do you want to hold? And for me, the perspective that I choose to hold is, man, I don't know why we're here. I don't know why Spirit chose to come here. All I know is I'm here. And it's here I get to learn. And going back to your question, it's my life. You don't have to agree with anything that I say. I don't care one way or the other. But what do you have to lose by taking into account what we're saying today? This is one of the main reasons we put together the Me I Don't See experience. You know, many people have gone through many workshops, but they've always kind of, you know, not all, but many have walked away feeling empty, or after a few weeks, they feel more empty because you know, you go to these big workshop events and they're just that. They're an event. We're hoping to make, and then you crash. We're hoping to make the Me I Don't See a process, right? Which we'll get into further down the road. But
dare I say a practice?
But at the end of the day, it's my life.
Yeah. Now, I keep hearing Bon Jovi every time you say it's my life. My life. It's now or never. Woo!
I'm gonna live forever. No. That's the 12-year-old soprano trying to come out. But no, it's true. It is my life. It is your life, and it's and we individually, collectively live these lives. Yeah. It is my life, but my life is connected to others as well. So for me, I want to be as whole, as balanced as I can be with myself, knowing that I interact with others, and I can only hope they're the same way. And if they're not, I accept. Right. That's why I said this. When you look at the madness that's going on in the world today, that's why there's so many people screaming at each other. I don't care what side of the political line you're on, what side of the ideology you're on. I don't care. But when you got a bunch of people screaming, then to me it's like, what does that say about you within? Are you good with yourself? Not there's anything wrong with screaming. Sometimes you have to scream. Sometimes you have to, pick up your pitchfork and revolt. Sometimes you do. How do I know? I don't know. Look at history. But the key is, are you screaming because you're good within, or are you screaming because you're looking for something good because you're not good in here? You're looking for that external validation, or that external thing that's going to fill you up. And there's nothing external that can ever truly fill you up. Right? Buddha once talked about, if happiness was truly an external force, then whatever you do that makes you happy, you should be able to do 24/7 without any negative consequences. I love apple pie, particularly Dutch crumbled apple pie.
Delicious.
I know. Back in my day, I could sit down and eat a whole pie. And I have done that, eat a whole pie. That brings me happiness, right? So I can eat a whole pie. Then you put a second one in front of me. And I could start. But probably 2 or 3 spoonfuls into that pie, all of a sudden it's like, I'm starting to get full. But I keep pushing through because, my boys are looking. I got eyes upon me. I got to make a good impression. So I keep trying to eat this second pie. Man, okay, I put a dent in. I've ate a quarter of it. But you know what? I'm like, no. Now this is making me sick. This is gross. I'm not happy. Well, wait a minute. You just said this thing makes you happy.
It made me happy. Now
it made me happy in moments. But true happiness, that's an external happiness. That can only be momentary. But the real true happiness comes from within. When you have that kind of happiness inside, then you can look at this differently.
It's the question of what is the love I'm trying to fill, and what am I willing to do to achieve it?
Mm-hmm.
What I've learned recently, as I've shifted that question around, is like, what am I willing to do to give that to myself?
There you go.
Right? Like, because previously that question had a very external, like, you got to come here and give me love. Be like, what am I willing to do to give that to myself first and foremost?
And that's always a key question. That's a brilliant question. What are you willing to do for you?
Yeah.
I remember when Whitney Houston's song "The Greatest Love of All" came out, and a lot of people kind of like to mock that song, but it's so true. The greatest love of all is self. Yeah. There's no one on this planet that can love you the way you love yourself. No one.
And we may be shifting into a whole new spectrum, right? Of like, let's face that, maybe this is where we kind of leave off today's episode, is like, we talk about the wolves, and when they come together, if you're looking for that love externally, are you even open to receiving it when it shows up?
Well, we're definitely stepping into show number 9.
Show number 9 is like, are the doors open?
Yeah. So maybe we'll do the next show on self-love and what that really means, or however you magically come up with these titles for our show. No, but it is a valid one, and it does tie into the wolves, because to me, when you feed both wolves, and when both wolves feel that they're appreciated for who they are and not being judged, or you're not being judgmental with them, regardless of which one you favor. Yeah. When they feel good inside, you feel good inside.
Well, and I've flipped that around, like, to feeding them. Mm-hmm. Is this feeding a frenzy? Because they haven't had any of that food before, and they gobble it up and just like you eating a pie.
Yeah.
A pie frenzy, be like, you're going to get sick.
Yeah.
But if you are satiated, you're going to eat that in a way that serves, in a way that sustains and nourishes, right? Like, is this a place of nourishment, or is this a place of frenzy? I need a better word.
Yeah. This is why anytime they find someone that's dehydrated from the desert or whatever, and they haven't had water in a while, what do they, to give them water, they want to douse it. And what do they say? No. Take small sips, So you try to down it like that, you will end up harming yourself, right? So So this is why it's important to be cognitive of those wolves that's inside of you. And how are you feeding them? Are you feeding them both? Are you feeding them healthily? Are you feeding them with love and appreciation for who they are and what they serve. They serve you well, both of them. You need them both. You cannot know light without dark. So we'll leave it at that.
We're gonna
As
wrap it up.
getting into another show.
You know what we didn't ask before we started the show is like, do you have a piece of written poetry that we want to do on the exposed section?
I always have poetry.
Wait, so you're ready?
I didn't write anything. I don't write necessarily for the show. I tend to have poetry that kind of fits. And I realize when I look back at my poetry, a lot of my poetry has always been about trying to look at balance and the balance of life and these sort of things. So I did pick a poem. Did you write one?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Yeah, I did. Didn't sound like too confident, but that's okay. Let's not be confident. Embrace that feeling right now. Don't judge it.
I think you went first last time, so
it's your turn.
I guess I should go.
It's only fair.
It's only fair. It's only right.
It's only fair.
All right. Well, let's see how this goes. All right. And today, we'll keep us both.
Hold on a second before you start.
Yes.
Let's see how this go. How did the previous ones go?
Well, they went very well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go with that assumption.
Let's go with that assumption.
Okay. Right.
Okay. So today, the wolves. Wherever I go, there they are, my shadow and light. Run as I might, they are always there, never out of sight. Feed one, starve the other, they said. One is better than the other, they said. Yet the wolves are always near. Starve a piece of me and watch it wither, watch it fight to survive. The choice isn't right or wrong, the choice is integration. The choice of integration is the demonstration of who's in control. They are part of me, my pack. To nourish all of me or none. To survive is an all-out war of self. To thrive is the art of self. They are neither right or wrong, they are fractions that add up to a whole. A whole life, a whole experience, a whole me. My wolves and me. And peace.
Like, that's really good. It's
Thanks,
brilliant.
brother.
Really good. Maybe one day you'll stop doubting.
Maybe. It's a practice.
Yeah.
It's
a practice.
So
no, I don't know.
This is our piece.
I still doubt.
Yeah.
I still have doubt. I have to deliver a keynote on a week from Sunday, and before a bunch of academia gods, all these doctors, and the gentleman that started this academy, he called me doctor. I go, I don't have any degrees. He goes, yeah, from what I see of you, you're a doctor. So I go, okay.
You're a healer, right?
Well, it's all relative, man. I still have doubt. I just don't give in to them. That's all.
Well, I think
that was a brilliant piece. I like how you have accepted the challenge to write to the theme, and my hope is that it's opening you up to realizing you have a very strong creative side,
and that's
been starting to get out.
That's the beauty of it is to play with the creativeness. So
yeah.
The thing that's different about this one is I kind of edited it a little bit.
Good.
Which I hadn't the others, and
okay.
That was so in keeping with one thing that gets better or change up the practice every time. That was the piece of just like I free flow it and then I just kind of cleaned it up a little bit. Like there's still edges, but like there's an opportunity to explore and deepen it and be more creative with it without the judgmentalness. And I got to judge without being judgmental on
He's
myself.
Starting to believe.
I can do it. Like the little train.
He's starting. Why is he not running, Morpheus? He's starting to believe. Okay. Well done, brother. Well, I like that up.
Thank you.
And I know you've been making these video shorts. You did the one of me reciting last week.
Yeah.
Please do a short with you. Pull out the other ones as well.
Yes.
Right? Go back and pull out the other ones, but pull out yours, not just me.
Oh, all right, fine.
Come on.
Hey,
right.
That's the other piece that we improved upon is like you'll find on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. We did we started the routine of clipping out. The fact that we've got one done means we've kind of we've moved the needle from none to one. So there will be more. So definitely come check out those areas if you're interested in seeing more.
Come an attraction, the Rawle and Gene Show shorts. Yeah. All right. I have to minimize this screen, so hopefully it doesn't. You can still see me and hear me.
I can still
Uh,
see you.
all right,
You're very welcome, Serene. Thanks for being part of the show. She
all
says,
right.
thanks, lovely humans.
Hi, Serene. All right, this is a piece.
And Neil as well. He calls you the doctor of life experience. Straight from Dr. Data himself.
Dr. Data, I love you, brother. We didn't connect today, but we'll connect. Maybe next week. We'll talk. I'll buzz you. All right, this is a piece I call "I've Dreamt of a Life." I've dreamt of a life not yet lived that plays out in a wondrous tale starring my unborn self. It echoes lucid waves of silence in the ripples of a void of sonic crest towards its final tumble. Into a portal of unborn stars, yesterday's thoughts crash upon the shores of my untested soul. My fear pinholes the heavens like stars in a deceptive dance. Hope acts like an accelerant, signaling the destructive creation of matter that lays the bedrock to the illusion of my sanity. In a blink, I expand the concept of me on swirling winds of my alter ego, trying to make sense of the idea that is me, unrealized in time, in the loop of infinity's intent. Rainbows serenade the clouds with arcing smiles, soothing and spotlighting love and fear. We taxi on duality's runway, playing hide and seek before being whisked off to possible. Painted against a backdrop of space at odds with itself. Choices not yet made, fighting the demons in the dark chasms of my soul. Falling through the void's vastness, quiet in the past, present, and future of this dream. I am a storm of kinetic thoughts, brewing in a full embrace of me that clings to the strings of matter. As energy, it is neither near or there, or here or there, for everything is within everything, and the nothing of my now tested soul. End of piece. So,
That's a powerful piece, Rawle.
thank you. I'm not sure how well I recited it, but I thank you anyway.
Yeah, no,
So I need to get back to some of the Zoom rooms. I haven't recited in a while, so I feel a little rusty, but it feels good to share it, though. Thank you. Thank you
definitely get back to those. The world needs your voice, my friend.
Well, I've been busy. Got family stuff going on, and then us. But no, I'm never too far from it. I still, I have a bunch of poems that I really need to start sharing, putting out, start posting. So I go through these, I go through these waves where I'll share, and then I won't share, and then I'll share, and I'll share. I'm good, you know.
Well, I'm just grateful we have a platform that we've created that we can come in and now make that part of the sharing, the experience, the exposure that is
And
our
yeah,
feelings and
that's
ourselves.
true because everything that I am doing, poetry is still involved. It's
Yeah.
still a part of. It's like breathing. It cannot be. This presentation for my keynote that I'm working on. Poetry is going to be a part of that. So it's constant. I may not be reciting in the Zoom rooms on a regular basis like some of my other poetic friends, but it's still very much of a key central player in everything that I do. And I'm so grateful that you were open to inviting poetry into this process of the Rawle and Gene show. So,
Well, it's a great creative outlet for us both.
yeah, definitely. So, anyway,
All right. Well, we're definitely at our time. The show is up. Episode 8 is in the bag. We've talked about the two wolves and how we were going to integrate them and a lot of things along the way. Any parting words before we say goodbye?
um, just don't be afraid to really step into yourself and listen to all the voices that are in there, and without judgment. But at the end of the day, it's like I sign off on everything. Be gentle with yourself, so you can be gentle with someone else.
Love that. I think that's a great way to wrap today's show up. All right, we will be back here next Friday. Same bat time, same bat place. Friday, 11 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, 2 o'clock Eastern Time. I'm Gene. That's Rawle, and we will catch you on the other side.
Peace.
Oh, one last thing. It's the legal language. This podcast is presented solely for educational and entertainment purposes. It is not intended as a substitute for the advice of a physician, professional coach, psychotherapist, or other qualified professionals.